Today we're going to talk about the gate 32, which in quantum human design I call the gate of endurance. It is one of the three gates that I call the FOMO gates. So when we're looking at the gates that connect the spleen center, that's the triangle on the left-hand side of the chart, with the root center, the square at the bottom of the chart, we're really talking about timing and the importance of timing. These three channels that connect the root to the spleen, because they don't have access to the throat and they can't really get to the throat unless there's some kind of a throat connection happening there. These three channels are actually what we call projected channels in the chart, meaning they're energies that have to be recognized and or invited. And if we push with these energies and we don't wait for the recognition and the invitation, or another way of saying that, if we don't wait for right timing, what we end up doing is using massive amounts of energy and force and adrenaline energy and force to push against right timing and really not get the results that we hope for. And oftentimes what pushes us to push against right timing is our fear of missing out, particularly when we're looking at the gate 32. So we have to take a step back and talk about time and timing, because time and timing is really a big, interesting adventure. And I think human design does such an elegant job of really breaking down for us that the big aspect or the most important part of strategy for all of the types is not really about do this thing or be this way. It's really about explaining the unique way that each one of the types has to wait. And that waiting is really about aligning with right timing. We're all types, manifestors too. We're all in some way doing a cosmic tango with time and timing. And if we're pushing against right timing, what we're doing is we're pushing against our own energy. It takes time in the third dimension to organize all the parts of the cosmic equation that moves your creation process out of kairos, which is sort of timeless time and flow, or my 12-year-old projector calls it fifth dimensional time, into chronos, which is clock time. There's a translation process that occurs when we're moving out of the flow of infinite time. That's where thoughts, ideas, inspirations, that's where our muse lives, right? And when we take that inspiration out of that flow time and put it into clock time, we have to follow the rules of the third dimension, which means all the parts for the inspiration have to be ready. So let me break this down for you, because I think, if I give you a practical example, I'm hoping it'll really turn the light bulb on. And most importantly, really give you permission to move deeper into a trust of divine timing. Think about writing a book. Okay, and some of you maybe have that as a vision or a desire or something that you want to do. And when you're in the process of writing a book, a lot of that process of writing the book is being in communication with your inspiration, or I like to call it your muse, right? You and your muse are plotting. You've got ideas, you're in the shower, all of a sudden you're like, oh, I should do this and I could include this, and maybe you're taking down a couple of notes. You're in this creative flow with this project, this book. But here's the thing. You can't just sit down, write the book, publish the book, put it out into the world. First of all, it takes time to build a book, right? And when we look at, the experience of the 3D world, a lot of what takes time in the 3D world is the translation of inspiration into action, right? And the preparation, laying the foundation for the action and the timing of the action to be correct. So yes, in the chronos, the timing part, the 3D timing part of the book writing process, there is, of course, the actual writing of the book. That's step one. There's also finding somebody who's going to print the book, somebody to publish the book, somebody to edit the book, somebody to design the cover, somebody to know how to distribute the book, get it on Amazon, get it out into the bookstores, somebody who's going to buy the book, somebody who's going to deliver the book, somebody's going to read the book, somebody who's going to write a review about the book, somebody who's going to take all of those actions necessary to take that idea and literally turn it into a 3D experience. Okay? If we don't wait for the right timing, then all those people who are part of creating this book process, your publisher, your editor, the graphic designer, the mailman who delivers the book, the people who read the book, the people who put the book up on Amazon, the people who print the book, all those moving parts aren't in sync yet. There's no synchronicity, right? There's just you pushing because you've decided it's time. The gate 32 says, whoop, time out. You're not in charge of timing. You're supposed to be building the foundation first and then trusting that once that foundation is strong and deep, then the right timing will reveal itself. But what happens a lot of times with this gate 32 is we get so afraid that we're going to miss the opportunity. We get an idea and we're like, oh, I got to do that right now because if I don't, somebody else is going to do it, right? That's where the FOMO kicks in. Or we think, oh, if I don't do this, I'm going to miss the opportunity. Are you going to miss the opportunity if you show up for it and you're not ready? Probably not. So that gate 32 puts this pressure about time and timing on us that oftentimes causes us to pull the trigger before we're ready. Or, and here's the other piece, it also sometimes causes us to not lay the foundation so that the timing and the right timing never actually happens. So I coach business people, right? I coach people who are entrepreneurs, who are healers, who are service-based professionals. And one of the things we always get bungled up on is talking about websites and building a website and selling and marketing. And by the way, this 32 channel, if we look at the flow of it, it's part of business circuitry. That the 54 from the root to the 32 to the 44 to the 26 to the will center, from the 21 to the 45 to the throat, that's the flow of business circuitry in the chart. If we don't lay the foundation first and we jump straight to say sales, which is where everybody wants to go, right? Everybody's like, oh, I have a product, I gotta sell it. What am I gonna do to sell it? I gotta make money, right? And we don't think about, wait, time out. What is entailed in that sales process? First of all, if you're gonna do sales, selling isn't about selling. That's the icky part we hate about selling. Selling is about building a relationship with a potential client and seeing if that client is really going to be part of a relationship that's going to benefit both of you, right? It's like dating. Selling is like dating. If you don't take your time to cultivate that relationship, and that might mean for some of you building a website, for example, if you don't take the time to build that, to have all those parts in place so that when the timing is right, you can just simply say, okay, go. And just push the button and be ready for the next step in the process. If we push against the right timing and we fail to have the foundation set, then usually it's never the right timing. And usually we're spinning around kind of stuck on a plateau, not making any progress because we think there's going to be something out here that's going to say, okay, now build your website. This is the something I want you to think about, and this is true for all types, including projectors. You're not going to get something to respond to. Timing's not going to be right if you're an initiator or a manifestor. You're never going to get an invitation. You're never going to get recognition. And for the reflectors, the timing never will be right if you don't have the foundation built first. I coach a lot of writers, and I coach projector writers, for example. And they're like waiting for the invitation to write the book. You don't need an invitation for the things that you can do on your own. You don't need an invitation to build a website. You don't need an invitation to write a book. You don't need an invitation for the things that you can do on your own. You need the invitation for the next right step, for getting that book out there, for selling your services or whatever it is that you're doing. But if you haven't laid the foundation piece first, then nothing's going to happen. So the 32, the fear of the 32 is a fear of failure. And so what happens oftentimes is that if you have that gate 32 defined, you hold yourself back because you're afraid to even try, because you're afraid that if you try, you're going to fail. And so you fail to build the foundation. You fail to do the work that you can control, that you do have influence over. And you fail to be ready for the right timing because your fear of failing itself has kept you from doing the work necessary to lay the groundwork. So again, because it's splenic, and we know that the only way through the existential fears of the spleen is to walk through them, the big scary challenge with this gate 32 is feel the fear and do it anyway.